I was asked if I had a drawing for how to tie a 12-part 5-Bight Casa knot. I looked and I don't have a drawing. Now, I have the run lists for all of the knots up to a 13/8 in my book, Western Tack Tips. In the introduction to Turk's Head knots, I've got how to tie a 3-part 5-Bight, a 4-part 5-Bight, a 6-part 5-Bight, a 7-part 5-Bight, an 8-part 5-Bight, and then a 5-part 3-Bight is the start to a 9-part 5-Bight. A 7-part 3-Bight is the start to an 11-part 5-Bight Casa knot. And then you can't tie a 10-5. And the 12-5, I do not have a drawing, but here is a 13-part 5-Bight Casa knot. So we're going to get the run list for the 12-part 5-Bight, and we will tie that knot. Let me get it up here so that you can make a screenshot if you need that. The string I have is about 6 feet long, and this is a 1/2-inch dowel. And this was my first book, and when I used to write down run lists, I did them like Robert Woolerly did in his book by doing a 1A and then B, and the A's are from left to right and the B's are from right to left. But then I got doing stuff with George Shackey, and he asked me to make them each number, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, because it goes with his math. But this number doesn't matter. Let's follow the run list, and it says make 2 clockwise passes, so you go 1, 2. Now, the most important part, it doesn't matter how many passes you want to count or how you want to count the passes. It's the next line that's important, and it's how many overs and unders in that line that is important. And this is an over under. So we're going to go over, and I'm just going to duck under the standing end, and we'll get her kind of straightened out so this isn't such a sharp. See how this is going kind of straight back? Okay, now the next line is under, over. So we're going to go under, and over. Right there. The next line is an over 2 and then an under 2. So we're just following this string. Over 2, under 2. Just like that. And got a twist in my string. Okay, so there's our over 2, there's our under 2. And now with even number parts, what you do going one way, you do the opposite going the other. So now we have, here we had an over 2, under 2. Now we have an under 2, over 2. So it's under 2, and then an over 2. Now we've got an over 3, still following, doing the same as this is, over 3, and then we go under 3, And then we do an over 1. And that completes the 3B. Now we're doing a 4A, and it's under 3, over 3, under 1. So we go, and we're on the left-hand side of our standing end doing our under 3. I pulled that out to straighten it out. Got to put it back in. Okay. So our last one was over 3, under 3. And now this one is an under 3, over 3. And then see this outside bite right there? Under 1. Under it. Now we're going to go over 2 and then under, over, and then under 2, over, under, over. So right here, this is where we're going to start our splitting our tracks. We're going over 2 to get into our tracks, and then see where that's under those? We're going to go under it to split our tracks. And now this one's over, so we're going to go over it. Those two are both under, so we're going to go under it, under both of them to split our tracks. And now we're just splitting our tracks. See, that's an over, so we go over it. This was an under, so we go under it and out over 1. Now, here's our path for our tracks. We're going to go under 2 to get into our tracks. I've tried a lot of knots with this string, so it's kind of kinked up. That's going over, so we go over it. That one's going under our track, so we go under it. These two are going over our tracks, so we go over both of them. This one is going under our track, so we go under it. And then we're going to go out over this one that's going over our tracks and under this outside bite. Now we just got tracks all the way back, over 1, under 1, which is our last line. So we're going to go over 1 to get into our tracks, under, over, under, over, under, and over, under, and see how I've pulled this outside bite kind of tight, so I got to pull it out so that we can see our tracks. And this one's going over our tracks, so we go over it. That one's going under our tracks, so we go under it and out over that outside bite. And that brings us back to the start of our knot. And we'll just go right in under the right hand, along the right hand side of our standing end under that outside bite. And that tied our 12-part 5-bite knot. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the bites, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, with an odd number of parts, see how our standing end is going under this outside bite? See how each one of these bites is coming out over and coming in back under? That's a regular knot. Now, if we take this knot and turn it around, you see how this side is the same as the other one was? It's coming out over and back in under. So like if you're doing a long knot on the nose knot of a boselle, if you do an even number of parts, both ends are the same. So when you go to start an interweave here, this is an under. If you go to start an interweave on this side, it's an under. They're the same. If you tie, this is a 13 part. And see how on this side it's going out over and coming back under? If I turn it around, see how it's the opposite? It's coming out under and going back in over. So that, if you did a long knot on a boselle and it was an odd number of parts, this side would be regular, over, under. But if you turned it around, this side is a sobre, so it's an under and then coming back in over. And what that does, when we do the interweave, the center of the knot is your primary knot. And see how I did, here I did a 9-part interweave, so I have 2 zigzags on the left-hand side of center and 2 zigzags on the right-hand side of center. And see, I didn't do a regular pineapple. A regular pineapple would have went under this bight. Or that's a herringbone would have went under that bight, and a regular pineapple would have went under this bight. And I am under the next cross in on both sides, so everything was even. Now here is our 12-part knot, and I interweaved it, and with it, the center is your interweave. See how this zigzag is in the center of the 12-part knot, and I have a zigzag, one zigzag on each side of that center. So when you're doing an interweave on a long knot on the center, on a nose band of a boselle, and you're wanting, if you're wanting your primary knot to be your center, you want to have odd number of parts. If you want your interweave to be in the center, be centered with the center of your knot, you can have a even number of parts, and it also makes it to where this side and this side would be the same if you turned them around. So if you're interweaving these separately this way and then turn it around and interweave it again, you've got the same interweave on both sides. I hope that will help you understand the difference you get from having an even number of parts. Because with an even number of parts, this bight and this bight are in line with each other. They're straight across. This bight and that bight are straight across. With an odd number of parts, this bight is in the valley of the bights on this side. And this bight is in the valley of this side. You'd see that more if my knot was straighter. And the center of your knot with an even number of parts is a gap, so that you've got the same number of parts of the primary knot on each side. With an odd number of parts, the center of your knot is your primary knot. I hope this will help you, and I hope you'll tie this 12-part 5-bight knot. It's quite interesting where you're doing the over 2s and then go over 3, under 3, and before you go under or over the standing end. So thank you for watching.